right, the Federal Reserve released economic numbers this morning, which indicate the consumer price index at a 7.7% gain this year through October. That is down from the 8.2% inflation many economists predicted, but still painful as the holidays approach. You know, with rising prices on the menu this Thanksgiving, can anything be done to provide relief to the average working family? Joining me now to discuss this and more, Congressman Kevin Brady. He's the ranking member on the House Ways and Means Committee. He represents the 8th Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Brady, welcome back to the program.
Good to see you, Tony. Thanks for having me.
So we're celebrating the fact that the inflation numbers weren't as high as they have been, just slightly over 8%, the wholesale price index. So what does this tell us? Are we seeing the kind of the arrest of inflation? Do we expect it to decline from here? What do we know?
Yeah, so there are many experts that believe that prices won't really peak till sometime next summer. You know, we've had 2 months where the inflation for our local businesses have moderated or come down just slightly. But as you noted, 8% inflation is about 4 times higher than any country ought to be tolerating. So it is still very cruel. And if you want to know as a family, you know, what you'll be paying in the future, look at what businesses are paying for their products and sources right now. Ultimately, that ends up on your pocketbook. So inflation is very persistent. It's very high. And I noticed, too, for the second month in a row, prices on goods rose far beyond expectations, which tells you, you know, that's not good news for the holiday, for the Christmas season, for the holiday season for consumers and families.
You're right. And plus the cost of energy jumped 2.7% in October, and the cost of goods moved up 0.6%. That's, you know, the things that people need. It was the services that declined, which kind of brought the number down a bit. When you look at this past election 1 week ago, the top issue for voters was the economy, inflation. In fact, almost 75% of voters, 3/4 of voters, said that America's headed in the wrong direction, a large part of that based upon inflation and the economy. But yet we see in many cases people voting to put Democrats back in control, although it looks like the Republicans will have control of the House. Will they be able to do anything to stem the spending?
You know, the short answer is yes, I believe we can. I'm pleased to see us get this majority. I think it'll continue to grow. My guess is it will be close to the same majority size as Nancy Pelosi's and Democrats have had for the past 2 years. It's what we do with it that matters here. And so, look, I think Republicans first, American voters have created a check and balance against Joe Biden's very socialist extreme agenda. That's important. Secondly, we have a chance through the power of the purse to both attack policies and try to rein in the regulation and executive orders. I think that's really important. And thirdly, look, we have about a year before the Iowa caucuses kick in and the presidential race really swamps everything. So House Republicans really need to be very focused, disciplined, and driven in this next year, in 2023, to lay out why the Republican ideas are better for working families, for safer neighborhoods, for a more secure border, for more privacy. And you do that through a limited government.
Well, Congressman Brady, you're going to be retiring. You did not run for re-election, and so you're retiring, and we're going to miss you here at Washington Watch. We'd love to have you on the program. So you can speak to this, I think, objectively. As you mentioned, the majority is going to be about the same as Nancy Pelosi had, maybe slightly less. What's your recommendation for the Republican leadership going forward? What do they need to do?
You know, I think focus on what matters to families. They have such a cruel economy right now. They're dipping into savings. They are skipping meals. Many of them are delaying their retirement. They can't buy homes anymore. It's just not affordable. Their take on their future is very bleak right now, and it's because of Joe Biden. So I think our pro-growth policies that can reduce inflation, we ought to focus on how we help those working families. Secondly, look, if you're not safe in your home and safe in your neighborhood, safe in your country, you don't have a quality of life. And I think whether it's the border security issues, crime, frankly, issues, more investment, not less, in local police is going to be very important. I do think we've had 2 years where Democrats have refused, really have kept what government is doing in the dark. So Republicans need to pull back the curtain, let the public see what's happening, whether it's this greatest theft of American tax dollars in unemployment fraud, or why they can't even get their tax return, sent back to them. They'd like to know, what is happening on the border and a number of those issues. So I think holding Washington accountable in a way that helps families and workers back home, I think is going to be very, very important.
I think that's some good advice. And in terms of the crime, it'd be good if they start right here on the streets of D.C. It's getting pretty dangerous out there these days.
Yeah.
I want to switch topics. We've got about a minute and a half left. Federal judge in Texas has struck down the president's student loan bailout. We've got the Eighth Circuit pushing the pause button as well. I mean, this was on shaky ground from the beginning constitutionally. Could this have been the plan all along to coax that age group, 18 to 24-year-olds, to vote for the president, knowing that this thing probably wouldn't hold up?
Yeah, it could well have been a bait and switch. Look, President Obama and then President Biden just a year ago had argued he doesn't have the constitutional authority, the executive authority to do this. He switched it, I think, fully knowing full well that this would not be upheld in the courts, so he can offer the candy to students and those with college debt, knowing that it'll be the courts that will strike it down. But in the meantime, I think he believes he got political benefit from it. But Tony, I'm just telling you, I think so many Americans felt this was unfair to them to have to pay off other student loans when they either paid theirs or didn't have them to begin with. So I'll be curious to see, as we take a look post-mortem at the whole election, really how much of a benefit that might have been.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I do think those 18 to 24-year-olds who took the bait got a lesson in politics.
No doubt. I think you're right.
Kevin Brady, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Good to see you, Tony. Take care.